I am a learner and life is my best teacher. Not all lessons come from classrooms and textbooks. In fact, the best ones come from your own experiences. Life inherently does that. Life teaches you through experiences. And the experiences, the lessons that you learn from your experiences, they are deep. They are hard to forget. They tend to stay with you for a very long time. I am not a UX expert. A lot of things that I have learned about UX has come from my own experiences, observations, and facepalm moments. So in today's talk, I'll be sharing with you short, amusing stories from my personal experiences, and we will try to derive some useful UX lessons from these stories. Hopefully, you will learn, you will laugh, and you will go back with some valuable UX lessons that you can go back and apply in your day-to-day work as a tester and save your users from suffering. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my session. My name is Prashant Hegde. And the first question probably that comes to your mind, why should I, as a tester, care about user experience? Isn't that the job of the product and design teams? Why should I really care? I'll give you 3 solid reasons why you should. Number 1, today UX makes or breaks your business. UX directly impacts what your businesses care about. That is your users, your customers. UX directly impacts customer satisfaction, customer retention, and eventually revenue growth. In yesterday's keynote, Tariq also spoke about how the role of tester is evolving and human experience testing is becoming vital. So I agree with that opinion. So I think today, in this AI era, I think testers need to do much more than testing functionality or automating a few checks. Testers need to find ways to amplify the business value of software testing, and I feel contributing to UX is a great way to do so. Number 2, as testers, we always keep preaching that quality is everyone's responsibility. What about UX? UX is not the job of one team or a department. UX is also everyone's responsibility, and great user experiences are created when diverse set of people come together and collaborate to solve user problems. Moreover, a lot of things about UX is about empathy. And as testers, we have this superpower. We can deeply understand our customers. We can put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. We understand the customers, their pain points, their abilities, their limitations. These are some of the things that are needed to create a world-class user experience, and we are uniquely positioned to do so. So before I narrate my first story, let us understand the difference between UX and usability. We tend to use these terms interchangeably. Talking about usability, usability is a quality attribute that assesses how easy user interfaces are to use. For instance, let's take the example of HUSTEF website. As a user, how easy is it for me to learn the HUSTEF website and book a conference ticket? That assesses the usability of HUSTEF website. But when you think about UX, it's a much larger umbrella. Usability is a subset of user experience. It's a set of emotions, perceptions, beliefs, opinions a person has about a brand. Once again, let's take example of the HUSTEF brand of conferences. What do I think about HUSTEF? How do I perceive it? What kind of emotions evoke in me when I think about HUSTEF? UX even bleeds to the real world. How is their marketing? How are their events? How are their leadership decisions? UX is not just about how easy it is to use a website. It's not just about fancy screens or transitions. UX is basically like having a meal in a fancy restaurant. It's not just about how tasty the food is. It's also about how the vibe is, how the crowd is, how the music is. When I enter the restaurant, how am I treated? How am I welcomed? The entire experience that I have, right from visiting that restaurant to leaving the restaurant, the entire experience is what encompasses UX. Yes, it's not just the digital products that have a user experience. anything that can be experienced, right from a coffee machine to a conference, from an airport to a supermarket, everything has a user experience. And in today's talk, we will learn a great deal about user experience from real-world objects. So to summarize, UX is what it feels like to use a product or a service. It's about generating positive emotions while solving user problems. A few years back, I was in my hometown in India, and everyone was raving about this popular tea stall that served different flavors of tea. I decided to visit this place. When I reached this place, I realized that it was not a cafe or a restaurant. It was a small tea stall by the street. But it was very crowded. There was aroma of spices in the air, and there was a long queue of tea lovers waiting for their turn. I had no choice but to join that queue and wait for my turn. So after some gentle pushing and elbow nudging, I finally got my hands on their signature lemon tea. I took a sip of it. It tasted excellent, very refreshing. The tea came in a very fancy-looking teacup, exactly like the one that you see on the screen. Very fancy for a small tea stall. Very elegant, very classy, Instagram-worthy. Felt like it belonged to some royal palace. But there was one big problem. I could not enjoy my tea for long. The unconventional design of the handle of the teacup made it almost impossible for me to grip it. There was no slit in the handle of the teacup. I could not secure a tight grip. Moreover, the cup was heavier than usual, which just added to the problem. The tea was extremely hot, and all the heat was radiating to my fingers. Most of India has a tropical climate, and I have sweaty hands. You know the rest of the story. I had to literally run to the tea vendor. I shouted at him to replace the tea in a different cup. He did it eventually, but by the time the tea was no longer hot, and it spoiled my entire tea experience. So this teacup reminds us of something called as Coffee Pot for Masochists from the book The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. This is the first book recommendation of the day. In this book, the speaker talks about a catalog of things that were designed to be intentionally unusable or dysfunctional, just like the coffee pot that you see on the cover page. I strongly feel that the teacup that I used belongs, has a special place in this catalog. In this book, the author emphasizes that if a user cannot use a design properly, don't blame the user, blame the design. So I went back home and I did a little more research about this cup to realize that everyone who bought this cup online echoed the same feelings as me. This is a classic example of what happens when you compromise on functionality for aesthetics. Never do that. The most important aspect of a usable design is functionality. A usable design enables its users to accomplish their tasks. While the cup looked elegant and classy, it failed to do the very basic thing it was designed for. If you think about it deeply, the cup also compromised on accessibility. If an average user like me could not use it, what about users with hand tremors, elderly people with arthritis? They would not be able to use it. A good design, a good product, thinks beyond the needs of an average user. Because everyone is disabled in a way. Some are temporarily disabled, some are situationally disabled, some are permanently disabled. A good product, a good design caters for the needs of all these diverse set of users. That's what is inclusive design. So now you may ask me, does that mean that aesthetics are not important? Are looks not important? That's not what I mean. In today's world, looks matter. A lot of things about UX is about psychology. It's about how people think, how they behave. So the first law of UX that you are learning today is called as aesthetic usability effect. Aesthetic usability effect says that users tend to pursue attractive products as more usable and efficient. It's this bias, it's this tendency that people have to believe that things that look better work better. Let's understand that users are greatly influenced by the attractiveness of the product. It influences people so much that they start overlooking small problems, small issues. While it has its limits, when your designs look good, feel good, people tend to be more tolerant towards your products. It gives your products an edge. Think about it. When you go to a supermarket, how do you do your purchase decisions? Studies show that we do a purchase decision within 7 seconds, and majority of our decisions are influenced by the packaging of the products. No wonder why brands spend so much in the premium packaging of their products. A good example of this in the field of software is Apple. Look at Apple's products. They are very attractive, sleek, minimalistic. Of course, they offer a good experience as well. Look at their websites. They have brilliant black and white themes. They use large, high-quality images that attract your attention. But if you ask, are Apple products perfect? They are not. Apple had its own series of problems. They had broken cables. They had bad software updates. They had bad product launches. They had terrible customer service. Despite that, Apple customers tend to forgive them and embrace Apple and stay loyal to the brand. How do you explain this? It's partially because of aesthetic usability effect and partially because of the desirability that is associated with Apple and its products. So let's revisit the first lesson that we learned. So let's strike the right balance between aesthetics and functionality, and let's not compromise one for the sake of other. Let's build useful products. Useful products offer both utility and usability. Utility is solving the user problems, in fact, the right user problems. Usability is making these features easy to use, pleasant to use. If you compromise on either, your product would not be called useful. It was a perfect Saturday afternoon, the kind where you leave all your worries behind, grab a buttery bowl of popcorn, and escape into a good movie. So I decided to take my wife out on a movie date. In fact, it was a long overdue movie date. I planned for a movie and a nice dinner afterwards. I pre-booked the movie tickets online through a popular app. So before we could go to the movies, we had to take care of our little one. She was 3 years back then. We dropped her off at her grandparents' place, and then we headed to the movies. We got slightly delayed in the process, so we were running late by 10 minutes. So once we reached the theaters, I quickly pulled out my mobile phone. I had got an email from the mobile app. I looked at the mobile ticket and quickly looked at the screen. We ran to our screens. The movie had already started, and the theater was half full. We found our seats, and we started to watch the movie. We watched the movie for around 10 minutes, but guess what? Nothing was making sense. We could not get the plot at all. We initially thought this is because we missed the first 10 minutes of the movie. Maybe that's why we really don't get it. But as we kept watching, my tester's sense started to tell me that something is seriously wrong. So I once again opened my mobile to relook at the mobile ticket, only to realize that we had entered the wrong screen. Instead of entering screen 4, we had entered screen 2. And unfortunately, the same movie was playing in screen 2, but post-intermission nearing to climax. Well, I took the courage to tell this to my wife. And you know the rest of the story. After getting an earful, after experiencing her wrath in 3D surround sound, we ran back to our original screen, that is screen number 4. By the time we had lost the first 30 minutes of the movie, we knew where the movie is heading towards. It spoiled the entire movie. In fact, it spoiled the entire movie date. We kept quarreling for the rest of the day. And my wife remembers this even today and never trusts me with movie tickets anymore. So when a user cannot use a design properly, whether it is a mobile app, a website, or even a movie ticket, don't blame the user, blame the design. I completely blame the design of the movie ticket for all this mess up. If you look at the design, right, what is the most important information on a movie ticket? Of course, it is the screen number followed by the seat numbers. I know I bought 2 tickets. It's not a valuable information for me, right? So this leads to the next lesson, size matters in the visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is the arrangement of elements according to their significance. Larger elements signify importance. Larger elements should take, or the most important elements should take precedence in the visual hierarchy. Have a look at this. This is visual hierarchy at play. Designers could use different ways to achieve visual hierarchy. They could use scale, or they could use contrast. They could use the combination of light and dark colors to make something stand out. They could use direction. Differently aligned elements will capture the attention of the users. They could use position. We don't read through content. We scan through content in F and Z patterns based on our cultures. So position creates an automatic visual hierarchy. So when the visual hierarchy is messed up, it leaves the users confused or even misguided. Remember the event when Steve Harvey announced the wrong Miss Universe on the stage? Instead of announcing Miss Philippines as the winner, he announced Miss Colombia as the winner of Miss Universe and crowned her, only to later apologize and hand over the crown to the rightful winner. A worst nightmare for any anchor. Think about what the participants might have gone through. While Steve Harvey and the program management is to blame, I empathize with Steve Harvey because he was a victim of poor visual hierarchy just like me. If you look at the elimination card that was handed over to Steve Harvey, you see that there is no clear visual hierarchy. The terminology used is confusing. His hands literally hit the winner of the Miss Universe. Later, UX enthusiasts around the world redesigned this elimination card to illustrate what a good elimination card should have looked like, what a good visual hierarchy should have looked like. So the next time you're testing your app, your website, your designs, ask yourself, what is the first thing that you see on your screen? What do you want your users to do? Are you able to draw the attention of your users to that place? Is your visual hierarchy guiding your users through a journey you want them to take? So you may ask me, how do I test for visual hierarchy? Simple, do a squint test. Close your eyes up to 80%. Whatever you see in your blurred vision is your visual hierarchy. Ask yourself, what is standing out? Is that supposed to stand out? Are your call to action buttons standing out? There are a lot of Chrome plugins that you can use to simulate this test as well. So let's come back to my story for a moment. If you look at physical movie tickets, they don't have this problem. They have a perfect visual hierarchy. As you can see, the screen numbers and seat numbers clearly stand out. I wish the mobile ticket just replicated the same design. If it had copied the same design, it would still be great for me. The last lesson of the day that you're learning is called as match between the system and the real world. Great designs replicate their real world counterpart and make information flow in a natural and logical order. Please understand that as users, we create mental models or shortcuts based on our experiences with real world objects. And when we transition to a digital world, we carry those interpretations with us. So good designs use the conventions, patterns, interactions that people are already aware of so that it reduces the learning curve for the users. Take an example of the calculator on your mobile phone, calculator app on your mobile phone. It looks exactly like a real calculator, works like a calculator. No documentation needed, no training required. That's what great designs do, because as humans, we find comfort in familiarity. You will see this in a lot of places. A lot of icons that you see on your screen have derived from their real-world counterpart. You'll also see Kindle, which tries to give you the experience of reading a real book. A lot of interaction like swiping or flipping a page has derived from its real world counterpart. So in my case, I had created a mental model subconsciously on what a movie ticket looked like based on my experience with a real movie ticket. And in that model, the screen number and the seat number stood out. See, people are in a rush. They are overwhelmed many times. They are skimming through content. They are multitasking. They have limited attention spans. So when they are in such a situation, they will apply this mental model subconsciously. Problems happen when the design and the mental model of the users do not match. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say. So don't make your users think. If you make your users think, you make them unhappy. And if your users are unhappy, they will ditch your app to find a better alternative. The last book recommendation of the day is called as Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. It's all right if you don't read this book. At least remember the name. That itself acts as a great heuristic. So the first thing that I want you to do when you leave here today is to deep dive into the 10 usability heuristics by Jacob Nielsen and the laws of UX. I have dropped some useful resources here. More importantly, see how these laws and heuristics play out in the real world. That's where the real learning happens. So once you get these UX instincts, start performing a heuristic evaluation. So I want you to go back and explore heuristic evaluation. Heuristic evaluation is like an expert review wherein you evaluate your user interfaces, your designs, your products against these laws and against these heuristics. This will help you to find out a lot of usability and UX issues as early as possible in your development lifecycle. That's pretty much it for me. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. So if you have any questions, I can take some.
Thank you very much, Prashant.
Thank you.
We need a few seconds to switch machines so that we can get the questions up. And Gabor will indicate to us when he's ready, and then we'll see his interesting presentation. Is your wife still mad at you for the movie?
She's happy now. At least I used it for the presentation, so she's all right now.
Okay, very good. And you know what to look for on the tickets no matter what now. While we're waiting, if somebody has a question, ask away. Wow. Okay, looks like we're ready. Yes. Peach is asking, how do you think I can contribute as a tester in UX, UI perspective in a team where front-end devs, designers take this role?
So as I told you, a good way, we speak a lot about shift left, right? That is, you involve as early as possible, right from your stage of requirements, design, code, and so on. So it's important that we as testers start involving right at the start, right at the time the prototypes are designed, right at the time when you have your Figma files, right? That's where you can start applying these laws, heuristics, and start giving feedback on your designs. So probably what happens is a lot of us do not know how to give that feedback because we are not equipped with the knowledge that we need. We are not, so your designers will start respecting you when you can talk in their language, when you learn about UX, when you learn about some of these laws and heuristics. I think they will be able to understand what you're telling when you give them the evidence and the clear violation of what law is breached or what heuristics is breached. That's what we did. We started involving with the designers, and we stated this particular heuristic is being breached. We started creating reports of where the designs could be improved. Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately we have 5 seconds left, so okay. I don't think we have time for another question. But Brijesh and MS, you can find Prashant, and you can ask him your question yourself. Out here either here or out there during lunch or whatever. But once again, thank you very much for your time and your excellent presentation.
Thank you so much.
Big round of applause for Prashant.